Against the Current is sponsored in part by SurfPro of Pulaski and Laurel counties. When fire or water damage takes over your life, trust the team in green at SurfPro to help you make it like it never even happened. They provide 24/7 service when you need it most. Give the local office a call at 606-877-2160 or online at surfpro.pulaski-laurel-counties.com. Franchises are independently owned and operated.
Today I'm joined by Michael Ray, Chief Financial Officer of Team Modern. Michael and his wife Tara live here in Somerset with their 3 children, Jax, Izzy, and Hogan. And Michael, my wife, and I, we talked about this some, but we'll soon be welcoming baby number 3 into this world. Any words of wisdom there for me?
Yeah, just sleep now. Take a vacation with your wife now, and zone defense is very different. So those otherwise it'll be great.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about it. I think my wife will probably be playing a lot more man-to-man for quite a while, and I'm going to be the one playing zone defense for probably the next 6 or 8 months. So
yes, my wife and I talk often that we're excellent at keeping track of 2 children, and so we always know where 2 of them are, and we have no problem with that. That sneaky little third one.
I like that. Yeah, our second boy is the reason we had to buy locks for our gates.
Well, we didn't really get that experience to our third one. He's awesome, but he's the climber and the get into new places. He's fun.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Michael graduated in 2005 from the University of Kentucky, and we're recording this just a few short days after the Cats took down those dirty, nasty Tennessee Volunteers. So since I said that, they'll probably lose to Missouri this weekend. Michael didn't return immediately to the family business. We're going to touch on more on that soon. A quick 30,000-foot view of Team Modern. Your grandfather, Bill Ray, started this business over 50 years ago as a jukebox and pinball machine company. Later added a grocery division, and a few more divisions have been added since then, and is now one of the largest independent family-owned wholesale distributors in the state of Kentucky, providing service across 6 states. With it now being a third-generation family business, Team Modern, it's constantly evolving as a company to meet the ever-changing needs of the convenience store industry in today's world. Mike is also co-host of the Mike and Mike Bible Study podcast, focusing on Christians at work, where they apply biblical principles to all areas of the workplace. I'm subscribed to it. I really enjoy it, and I'm going to put information for it in the show notes so the rest of you can find it as well.
Thank you.
With all that being said, Michael, what I want to do here this next is kind of a quick rapid fire questions. It's where you gain significant credibility with the thousands and thousands and thousands of listeners you and I both have on our shows, or you just lose all credibility. So,
yes.
First question without hesitation: favorite superhero and why?
Superman, no good reason. Not a superhero guy. That's what I can think of.
I like it. All right, pancakes or waffles?
Waffles, you need the butter traps. It's very important.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit of a butter fiend, and so if you make sure you get the little cups that holds the butter, it's very important.
I like that. A highly debated topic in my household is chocolate chips or no chocolate chips.
See, I'm anti, but you know they go both ways in my house also.
In my view, there's only one correct answer. It's plain Jane.
Yeah, I'll do a little peanut butter occasionally. I'm a little bit of a waffle connoisseur in my house. I'm the waffle guy, and so this is the Saturday kind of thing. And so I like to mix up some peanut butter waffles occasionally. We'll do some blueberry. We do some chocolate chip. I'm all in on the waffle game. It's right at my level that I can handle it.
See, I like that too. That's kind of Saturday morning tradition for us to do the pancakes or waffles. I'll sprinkle in a little bit of cinnamon every now and then, add a little sweet to it. It's good.
Yes. Well, it's combined forces.
Yeah, absolutely. Favorite food item from the Team Modern kitchen and culinary expert Jared Richardson?
So you got to go off menu with Jared a little bit. I mean, if you just stick with the regular stuff, I mean, it's all good. But man, he does. I'm trying to think, like a tanglewood pie. So you can ask him about that. That's off the charts. Yeah, he'll do anything that's pretty phenomenal. Any dessert, he'll give you 130% on when you really just need 100. But everything that our ladies do in the kitchen is phenomenal. I would advocate for all of it. But with Jared, you got to ask for the funky stuff because that's where it gets fun.
Nice. Last 2 questions here. What's a favorite book or maybe podcast or something you've listened to recently that you took a lot away from?
Let's see. So, book wise, rereading some Yancey stuff. That's kind of on the religious side. What's So Amazing About Grace? The Jesus I Never Knew. That stuff's really good. So I would advocate for that stuff. Podcast wise, it depends on what you're into. There's a let's see, do a little bit of sports podcasts and political podcasts. There's a kind of a unique kind of financial podcast. I can't think of the name of it. I'm going to have to look it up. I think I'll come back to that one, but I would advocate for it. It's pretty fun.
Okay.
It's called Invest Like the Best. It's pretty good. So I'll advocate for that one.
Okay, good. If you don't mind, I'll have you send that to me when we're done. We'll add that in the show notes there too.
Patrick O'Shaughnessy. Somebody put me on that one. He's just kind of unique. I like it.
Last question here. Love to win or hate to lose?
That's a good question. I'm a little more of an optimist, so we're pretty bad, I think, all of us, about focusing on our failures instead of celebrating our wins. So we try to go out of our way to celebrate our wins around here, and not, we got to do autopsies on our failures, but we don't live them. So we'll try to celebrate the wins.
That's good. That's really good. So, Michael, since I gave about a 30,000 foot view of everything you all do, can you help explain, I guess, a little bit more for the listeners that may not know much about Team Modern and what you all do there? Would you kind of help give a little bit more about the who, what, when, where, and why?
Sure. So the background, you kind of started at the beginning. My grandfather, with a couple of partners, started the Modern World, and it was Modern Music originally, and that was back in the early 60s with jukeboxes. And so in central Kentucky. And then my family moved to Somerset in 65, and my grandfather purchased a vending company, and it became Modern Vending. And so there's a lot of people in the community, especially, Pulaski County area, that still know us primarily as Modern Vending, because that's what we've been for 60
Right.
years. And there is still a small amusement division, Mr. Gaddy's and some other, the cinema locally, some other locations. We still do some amusement and games, but that's much smaller now. Vending's still an important part of what we do. Partners with a lot of folks in the area where the vending service at the hospital and the college and TTAI and some other local, Hendrickson. Got a good local partners. I'm sure I'm leaving folks out, and I apologize, but a lot of good local partners in that world.
Right.
But in the early 80s, got into kind of wholesale grocery distribution, and that started really with tobacco back in the day, because there was you could still buy cigarettes out of vending machines back in those days, and so got on direct status with some of the cigarette manufacturers, and then started selling some of that stuff wholesale. So I got kind of into the grocery distribution, and that's really the part that has been growing, and continues to grow. So the by far the biggest part of our business is wholesale grocery distribution, and that is convenience stores. And so our customers are primarily convenience stores in 6 states. And so that, the new distribution center that we're building is for that division. And so we needed some extra space, which is a good problem to have, but it's an expensive problem to have, I've learned. Yeah, but we're very optimistic about the things we can do out of that new space. And convenience store world has been very steady through the pandemic, and it's a pretty stable industry. And so we're fortunate to be a part of it. And so that's kind of our legacy. And just recently, in the last few years, just because of some talents of some people internally, that kind of spun off a couple of new divisions. Our science and graphics division is doing great work. That just started because we had really talented people that were doing science and graphics projects for some of our existing convenience store customers. And frankly, we got tired of giving the stuff away. I mean, it was high quality stuff, and we should figure out a way to monetize this. And so that's what we try to do. So, Brian Denny's my brother-in-law, and he runs that division. They got a great team. So that's kind of turned into its own thing. And just recently, we're into equipment sales and service. So primarily, beverage type equipment, coffee, cappuccino, tea.
Yeah.
with selling and servicing that kind of kitchen equipment. Again, just from some expertise of people that were on staff. And my grandfather, who I'll probably talk a lot about, he's kind of the inspiration of everything we do and started all this. And he was very entrepreneurial, and so I know your grandfather had a lot of influence on what you're doing, and same for me. So we try to remain entrepreneurial, and we kind of say we're gonna try and fail at some things because we're gonna find successes eventually. So we're always trying new stuff. We're trying we're just recently have kind of launched a business services kind of division. We're laundering mats and towels for convenience store customers. So it's just there's no end of things that we can try, and we're just dumb enough to do it. So we're going as long as we're meeting their needs, we think we'll be okay.
So I was really touched actually back at the chamber banquet, which now feels like years ago.
Different lifetime.
Yeah, I know. When your grandfather was honored with that award, because that was the first time I'd really heard the true beginnings of Team Modern and modern distributing, and how Mr. Ray even started the concept of it, and taking basically nickels from one jukebox and then using once he got enough to fund another one, and then that entrepreneurial mindset you talked about that he helped grow into what you guys are now. How many employees are you all up to now?
Right at 200. So that it's kind of split between the different divisions. Distribution would be over half of that, but still quite a few vending, but right at 200.
Okay. Something I mentioned, alluded to a little bit earlier was, and it was something I learned from your podcast as well, is that you didn't just go straight from college and come back to the family business. For those that don't know, I guess, a little bit about your career path as well, would you kind of talk a little bit about that?
So I'd be happy to. I'm not sure my story is that interesting, but I'll tell you what I know is, when I graduated, my undergrad was at Transylvania in Lexington,
right,
and then went a couple years to UK and got my CPA license during that time, and was originally working for a CPA firm in Lexington. Interned there when I was still in school, and then started working there when I got out of school. It was Dean Dorton Ford at the time. Now it's just Dean Dorton in Lexington, and really enjoyed that. I don't have anything negative to say about the people or the experience. I really enjoyed it. We went through, a busy season, which you kind of know what you're getting into in the CPA world and in a busy season, and we're getting ready to have our first. And my wife said it might be time to do something else. So we kind of agreed, just far enough away from home that a busy season with a new baby didn't sound particularly appealing. And we talked about opportunity to come back to Somerset at some point, so that worked out. And they were very gracious. Dad and my uncle were very gracious to let me make some messes and come back. And so that was that was the end of 2006. So I was about, obviously a lot of time in college, but 7 years total in Lexington before I moved back home, and very glad I did it that way. Just needed some experience somewhere else.
Sure.
I definitely would advocate for that. I know of other businesses that kind of have that rule that family members have got to go do something else first and then come back. And I'm not sure that's a terrible thing.
Yeah, that was going to be kind of my next question with that, is what's probably the most valuable thing you learned from that?
Yeah, I think it's good to start at the bottom somewhere where you're not, part of, you just, even because I did in high school, work some in the warehouse here at Modern, but it's always a little different when you're, boss's kid or whatever.
Right. Right.
So to really have that kind of entry level experience and have to get promoted on when everybody knows that you're getting promoted on the quality of your work, I think that's valuable, and just a different perspective too.
Absolutely.
More than just more than just the work experience, just seeing how other organizations operate. That's been helpful to me here. Obviously, we've been blessed to be successful, but when there's things that we need to work on too, and so having a little different perspective, I think, is good.
Nice. A few listener submitted questions here.
Oh, no.
What? No, these are good. What
Okay.
what do you think is maybe the most common misconception about what you all do?
That's a good question. I guess there's a lot of again, people in the area who still think of us first as a vending company.
Right.
That's probably the most common misconception. And obviously we still are a vending company, but
Sure.
the growth and the bulk of what we do now is it's box in, box out distribution.
Right.
And so that would be one. And the other is, even folks that know that we're kind of in the distribution game, especially in the last 5 years, we're a food service company. So
Yeah.
that's a lot of the reason that we're building the new facility is we don't have freezer cooler capacity in our current site that we need, and so we're building
Okay.
a lot more. So all the things in convenience store delis and those that are doing really well are really growing. Chicken,
Yeah.
pizza, burgers, tots, biscuits, muffins, donuts, all that kind of stuff. It's a big business, and
Yeah.
so that we are a growing food service company is probably something that we wish was a story that more people knew.
Gotcha. And this is another thing you kind of talked a little bit about earlier, and with the pandemic, and obviously every industry's faced its own problems. A lot of the success of a convenience store has nothing to do with the gas pumps out there, at least not how much gas people are getting. It has to do with the foot traffic. But of course, with people getting less gas because they're driving less or places just shut down, I guess the question I have is, I'm assuming that side maybe took at least a slight dip for a time period there. I'm sure it's recovering and gotten better some, but I guess how has the last couple of months or last several months impacted your all's business, and kind of what do you project going forward?
So there's a couple of different facets to that. The vending side for us was actually more dramatically impacted just because,
Okay.
unfortunately, for those folks that were part of factories that had to shut down for a period,
Sure.
that business
Yeah.
evaporated. Obviously, the hospital, there's no visitors for a period, and very limited even to today. So that foot traffic that we were used to in those environments kind of evaporated overnight. So vending took a pretty significant hit, and it's come back to a large percent of where it was. Probably not all the way fully back yet, but it's certainly come back. On the distribution side and the convenience, and convenience store owners could probably do this a little better than I can, but it's kind of our job to stay at least somewhat on top of that. is for sure less traffic in March, April was there saw some declines. But on the other hand, people that did get out, there's a lot of folks that did not want to go to more crowded environments. They didn't want to go to Kroger, Walmart. And so they were comfortable maybe going in quickly to a quick stop in a more of a small box environment. And C-stores are bounded pretty quickly. What I think is interesting, what's been interesting in our business is because people's schedules are out of whack, the things that sold have changed, in that the routine of a morning paper and a morning coffee just has been blown up. Kids aren't going to school anymore. Maybe you're working from home. Maybe you still run out, but it's at a different time of day. And so, what was been traditionally a staple, breakfast and coffee, has been down, but other parts have been up a little bit. We just think it's rhythm and routines. People are in different rhythms.
That would be very interesting to look back even a year from now, just on the statistics from that time, as far as, like you said, what was purchased, what wasn't, and how almost like a graph as far as how the sales changed during that time.
And the other one that I've told some people that think it's interesting lately is, gum and mint dramatically fell off. Nobody was going anywhere. Didn't care about your breath, right? So that cliff. And then here, just in the last couple of months, have really come back strong, because now everybody's wearing masks and they're forced to smell their own breath. So when you're having to smell your own stuff, it seems like you care a little more. So we're optimistic about the gum and mint industry.
So buy stock now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I told somebody the other day, Hershey is actually, I think, coming. They're going to launch this campaign as mint before you mask, and so
Nice.
those packaged good companies are smart enough to capitalize on that stuff.
Absolutely. That's that's funny. That's good. Switching gears a little bit here. Uh, so you were, I'm pretty sure were the first to admit this on the Mike and Mike Bible Study podcast you guys have, that you are not in HR. You don't want to be in HR. You stay away from HR. From your role, though, how would you describe office culture, and how do you think, how involved should someone in your role be in trying to influence and set that standard for company culture, especially one of your size?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I hope it came across that was at least mostly tongue in cheek.
Right. Right.
That obviously a lot of what anybody in a business leadership kind of role does is it's all about people. So it's all people related, and that's the department that deals with people. So, I notice that when I feel like things are going the best in our business is when we've spent time on HR projects, and then when we take our eye off the ball a little bit, that the deterioration in relationships or turnover, it's a lagging indicator, but you can see that 2 months down the road affecting our efficiency or our sales or whatever. And so the HR projects, I think, are some of the most important things that we do, and the culture that we try to we try to set up around here. We're pretty adamant about that. When my grandfather died, we kind of set up this set of values that were based on quotes that we remembered from him, and so and kind of called that the modern way. And we've really preached that concept that there's a modern way to go about things, and it has to do with these values. It's fairness, it's teamwork, it's customer service, and it's optimistic energy. And so that set of, we're pretty, we're pretty sincere about that, but we're also pretty consistent about it. Like every meeting we bring those up, and if there has to be a disciplinary meeting of some kind, say, hey, look, here's the reason this doesn't work, because it doesn't align with our values. So was this fair? Was this good customer service? And so those have been helpful for that. But the most important thing that we forget this at times, but the most important thing that we can do when we're looking for a new person is, do they fit the culture? We can figure the rest of it
Absolutely.
out. It doesn't matter. And we've learned this the hard way too many times, not because we're so smart at all, but the opposite. But man, it doesn't matter the education, the background, the experience, the smarts. If the culture doesn't fit, they just get chewed up and spit out. And I think
like trying to fit.
I'm okay
like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
It is, and I'm okay with it. The culture is more important than the high performer. And so a high performer that ruins the culture is a bad trade. So we're pretty adamant about that.
And I think what you all do with that is crucial too for any business. It's not only having values, but having written values, and then consistently pointing back to those and basing your decisions back on those. Because if you're doing that, and everyone in the business is aware of that and aligns with that, and knows that, hey, what I'm doing today and the decisions I make are they aligned with the company values over here?
Yes, and also it's again, it's when you're hiring somebody, just upfront about, if these don't align with how we want you to do well, but it may not be a fit here.
Right.
So that just that alignment is so important.
All right. I like that. Another thing that you kind of brought up, talking about Modern and some of the growth you guys are going through, obviously is a very rather expensive building project going on out at the industrial park and the Valley Oak complex there. First, I know we talked about the reason kind of why you guys are doing it. You need some more freezer space, but talk a little bit more about that for listeners that maybe don't know much about the building other than just, hey, you guys are doing it. Talk a little bit kind of about the size of it, if you're completely relocating, or the purpose that it's going to serve out there.
Yep. So we started this kind of investigation 2 or 3 years ago because we knew that space was getting tight, and went through a lot of different investigations of what's the right way to do this. Should we expand where we are? Could we move to another existing facility? Should we just do a greenfield ground up project? And kind of ran through all those scenarios, and had purchased some adjacent land here, and kind of had gone down the road a little bit of doing an expansion here where we are on Columbia Street, which is where our wholesale distribution facility is. And ultimately kind of ran into some dead ends in a lot of different ways on that project, and a little discouraged by it. And so, and frankly didn't think that we could, the numbers financially on a ground up project, we just couldn't make work. And fortunately, a few things just kind of providentially, in my opinion, just kind of fell together for us. And one is, the opportunity to purchase the land where we're moving to, and the opportunity to purchase the Safe Auto building as an existing office space. Those folks were, the backstory there, Safe Auto a couple of years ago, pre-COVID, started the policy of allowing some of their folks, their insurance claims and their folks are on phones,
right?
And they started allowing their workforce to work from home a couple of years ago, and so they still employ a number of people in the county, but they no longer needed the physical space, and so that kind of worked out. And then just through some contacts and some smart people, becoming aware of and figuring out how to take advantage of some financing options that were available, but in the community that we're in, in more rural, economically disadvantaged areas, there's things out there that we didn't know about, we had to learn about, and make sure that we were complied with and do things the right way, but they made the project possible. Speed and Chris Girdler were very helpful in that process. Our ECC helped us on with some issues that we had out there in the new facility. So a lot of hand holding for some people that were pretty ignorant to help us down the path, that made the financing part of it possible. And then once we kind of mentally got over the hurdle that it was possible, it became really exciting. And so we're thrilled. We've got a really we've got a nervous couple of months ahead of us. So the move for us happens late November, early December.
Okay.
And everything that has been in our Columbia Street warehouse will move out to the Valley Oak complex. And so that's our distribution side, and all of our kind of headquarter administrative offices will all move out there. Our vending division, which is on University Drive, will still stay there. In our signs and division on Columbia Street will stay on Columbia Street, but all the offices and warehouse associated with distribution will be moving. That was a wordy.
No, that was good. Because I learned a lot myself just kind of hearing all through that. I'm sure RECC did have to help get a little bit extra juice out there for all the cooling units and refrigerators that are going to be out there, freezers.
Yes, I think when we told them how much freezer we're going to build, their eyes lit up. They knew that was going to take some juice. So no, they've been great partners.
Something you talked about there, and I think a lot of businesses struggle with growing pains, and every business wants to grow, wants to expand, wants to scale, but it's having that, not rushing it too quickly, but then having that plan of trying to figure out, hey, is this investment worth it? Is this investment the right thing to do right now? What do you think? I know you said, obviously, providentially, a lot of things kind of fell together at the right time. And you kind of mentioned there, too, that there was a time where this almost didn't happen. What was kind of that process like of that specifically?
I could talk for a long time. There's a number of ways of times along the path. A number of times along the path where it just kind of seemed like, this is the dead end. This isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
I would think one of the things that probably my dad gets the credit for is he is like the uber even keel doesn't
I can see that.
doesn't get too high, too low.
Yeah.
And so, it's very, when I'm pretty down on things, or it's not going well, he's the one that says, let's move on to the next thing. These things happen. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
Not the end of the world. Let's move on. And so he was definitely a steadying force through that. We maybe I'll develop that keel, but he's pretty unflappable, which was pretty helpful. And so I think just as an organization, we're pretty good at not getting too high, too low. We're going to move on to the next thing. We tackle the challenges that are in front of us. Nothing yet has killed us. So we managed to overcome. So that I think that influence has been very helpful.
Nice. That's kind of my next question is with the growth too, and things that you guys have brought in-house, creating new divisions. How do you all go about deciding, I guess, what to outsource versus what to bring in-house? Like obviously with the convenience store, you guys are the industry side of it. You guys are seeing more and more of, hey, we could probably do that. Let's add that to the services we offer our customers.
Yeah, and I don't know that I have a prescription for that, or we're even doing it the right way. I just know that we are like adamantly going to do it ourselves first, and
I like that.
and I'm not. That's not always the right answer. We've learned that the hard way a number of times, but. I think it has something to do with that optimistic energy kind of value, like maybe an over the top belief in that there's no reason we can't tackle this.
Right.
We're going to try to do it ourselves first, and we outsource not much. Now, obviously, there's some to do in any business, but it seems like more and more we're looking for those opportunities. Like, why don't we bring that in house? Is there really savings from outsourcing that? Can we leverage some talent that we have and do that ourselves? Now, again, that's not always the right decision, but we have a tendency to do that, and maybe it's control, like to have our hands around it, like to know what's going on and getting the nuts and bolts of it. But I think part of it's entrepreneurial, and part of it's just not liking to spend money on stuff, and part of it is just liking to have things in house. But we would lean toward less outsourcing as a rule. That's not to say we don't do it. We outsource some of our payroll functions.
Well, sure.
We outsource some, a lot of other things. But if it's feasible to do so, we like to do it in house. If you've got the right people to do it, and
exactly
around it.
That was my next point with it, is just not having that fear to try it and just say, hey, let's see what happens, but also having the sense too to know, okay, this isn't working. We need to scrap this, go on to the next. But like you said, it's if you have the right people on the bus, on the right seats of the bus, you're going to set yourself up for more probable likelihood of success, I think.
Yeah, and again, we get that answer wrong as often as we get it right, but we're trying to do the right stuff there.
Well, Michael, I want to be respectful of your time, so I'll try and wrap this up a little bit here. Obviously, you mentioned moving later in November, December. Anything else exciting on the horizon for 2021 for you guys?
I wish I could tell you something exciting. It seems like that all that I have done personally in the last 6 months is building meetings and all that kind of stuff. So that is the big hurdle for us and the opportunity for us. We were getting to the point, we are at the point where we're turning down bid opportunities just because we couldn't physically house enough product to service customers, and it's no place to be. And so the sales force is excited. Obviously they've got a ton of opportunity and now responsibility, and our whole team's really excited. And so we're want to be good partners out there at Valley Oak with all of our other business friends out there, and continue to grow. But the platform, the infrastructure to do that being in place is really, really exciting for us.
With the food truck center coming out there, you better be careful. Jared might have his own little food truck division started before you know it.
There's some good stuff out there in those trucks. Yeah, no,
It is.
no, we're always because we do in factory dining at TTAI, and we have we have some hot and cold food at Hendrickson. We're always partial to our own stuff. So but we're also smart enough to admit some of those food trucks are pretty good stuff. So I understand there's a place for them.
Absolutely. Anything else that you'd like our listeners to know?
No, I appreciate what you're doing. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to. Obviously, I don't mind talking. Apparently, a lot of it, but we appreciate what you're doing.
I appreciate it. If anyone's wanting to maybe apply to work, become a team member there at Team Modern, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, there's a link on our website, teammodern.com, and that's all internet based. We are adding people as we move through this transition. So if you know someone who'd be interested, we'd be happy to do that. And plug the podcast. I would say what my buddy Mike and I are doing, trying to that intersection of work life and our Christian life, and that is not. That obviously that creates some friction in some places.
Sure.
And how do you handle those frictions? We don't get it right, but we like to talk about it. So while we're doing that, so plug that.
Well, I'll do that. I've enjoyed that as well. So you guys do a good job of applying some biblical principles and also having a little bit of fun with it in the process. So it's good.
Well, I know what a clown he is, and so that's we've known for a long time.
Last thing here, just if anyone maybe is interested in working with Team Modern from a business side standpoint, as far as like maybe their business or C-store or becoming basically partners with you all, what's the best way for them to go about that?
Yeah, good question. There's any number of ways that we can partner together. I mean, we're either as a vendor source for some stuff we can sell to somebody else, or can we provide services to other businesses? We're happy to start those conversations. I mean, frankly, the best way to do is just either drop us a note on our Facebook page or call our direct line and just, hey, here's what I have, or here's what I'm looking for. Tell me the right person to talk to.
Okay.
We kind of make a point to have a real person answer, available to answer those calls. I don't think you'll get sent through a maze of different lines and voicemails, but we still think of ourselves as a small business. I think we are still growing and still trying to be entrepreneurial, and we just happen to have a lot of good team members in our small business. So we're blessed about that.
I think that is the perfect line to end it, to wrap it up there. Michael, I really appreciate your time. Appreciate you sitting down and having a conversation with me, and best of luck in the moving process. And
thank you.
I know you guys are going to need it, but wish you guys best of luck and continued success.
I appreciate it. Thank you.